Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansu, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Well, it looks like we got some beef in these streets. I was driving today and I was thinking about Shannon Sharpe. And the reason I was thinking about Shannon Sharpe, I was thinking about all of the various spats that Shannon Sharpe has been a part of ever since he got this new level of notoriety and fame after the Cat Williams interview. Shannon Sharpe was popular. He was very popular, obviously well-known, former NFL player, all of those good things. But after the Cat Williams interview, it pushed him into a totally different stratosphere. That interview now in aggregate has about 100 and maybe 20 million views. It's crazy. Or maybe 110 million views. And it generated a lot of buzz. The Monique one also generated a lot of buzz. And it's caused Shannon Sharpe to be the talk of the town for many different people, from comedians, former athletes, people in the independent space, journalists, whoever. Everyone is talking about Shannon Sharpe. But with that, there's been some pushback. There's been some criticism. There's been some people that have not been a fan of some of the things that, or the way that Shannon Sharpe goes about his business. And one of those people was former NBA player Steven Jackson, who also has his own show with Matt Barnes, All the Smoke, one of the originators, by the way, of this podcasting thing, if I'm being honest with you, for athletes. So they recently had Mike Epps on their show, right? Mike Epps was on this show, and they were discussing the situation with him and Shannon Sharpe, which is what I'm sure everyone wanted to know about. So Mike Epps was going through what he was saying, and he was basically saying why he decided to apologize to Shannon Sharpe. But as he was saying that, towards the tail end of what he was saying, Steven Jackson then interjected. And he was like, I don't understand why you gotta apologize. No one is above being talked about and blah, blah, blah. So for those of you who didn't hear what Steven Jackson had to say, we want to play what he has to say for you now, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Steven Jackson had to say here.
I felt bad about it. And I wanted to meet up with him and personally look him in the face and tell him that I was sorry. Because I've been best anybody.
Period, right.
On myself.
Got to be able to laugh at yourself.
If I go on camera, if I'm doing stuff, that's what I told him too.
But if they jokes, why you got to apologize if they jokes?
Well, I mean, like I said, man, it wasn't Shucky Ducky telling the joke. I wanted to show these kids that, guess what, no matter how I felt about him and how he felt about me, that guess what, this don't have to end in violence. And I'm not about to prove myself to nobody, and mess what I worked so hard for to show somebody I'm a real
Nobody's too big to be talked about, though. You did the right thing, but everybody can be talked about.
I not talk about everybody.
Yeah,
I have talked about everybody. I'm serious. I mean, I talked about Shaq straight in his face. I done called him Shrek and all kinds. He just be laughing. I'm thinking that he gonna laugh too.
You only get mad like that when there's some truth to it, dog. That's just how I feel.
Speaking of, I'm glad you guys got to talk and clear your piece up.
So you heard what he had to say. Now, what I forgot to mention was the source of that clip. I actually got it from the channel Urban Politicians TV. Let me just say this. If you don't know who he is, you got to watch one of his shows. Usually he goes there and he's talking about something, but after he talks about it, he got the funniest intro. The way he'd be like, yo, 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 like that. He's just funny the way he's just staying on your pivot at all times. Had to come tap in. It's just so funny, man. Shout out to that dude. That intro, whenever he does it, is just so funny. He be doing it the same every single, like, yo, 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 yo. Anyway, so that's where we got the soundbite from. Anyway, let me get into what Steven Jackson had to say. First of all, let's talk about how his comments are going to be perceived. A good amount of people are going to be like, what Steven Jackson is doing is hating. That's what a good amount of people are going to say. I think that the position that Steven Jackson is looking at this situation from is the following. He's looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, do I have to agree with every single thing that that maybe the new guy or the popular guy is doing, are you telling me I can't disagree with maybe one thing here or the other thing there, or I must always agree? Generally, what happens is when someone is the new hot thing, that person in most cases can do no wrong. And if you have any a comment that may be perceived as negativity or hating, most people are going to say you're hating. This is the fact of the matter, not just about Shannon Sharp, about anything. I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. That's the first thing. The second part, apart from what Steven Jackson had to say, here's what I was thinking about. I grew up in New York. I'm a huge hip hop fan. I grew up to the likes of DMX, Jay-Z, the Ja Rules, the 50 Cents, all of these guys when I was growing up. Even earlier than that, the Bad Boys and the Tupacs and all of that, Snoop and all of that. So I know hip hop pretty well, right? I know it pretty well. Not like I'm a hip hop historian, I'm not, but I know hip hop very well. Recently, Shannon Sharpe did an interview with marketing guru Steve Stout. Now, if you know anything about Steve Stout, obviously he's a very sharp guy, excellent at marketing, very eloquent, well-spoken and all of that. But Steve Stout has had various issues with various people over his time in the hip hop industry. I've seen him and 50 Cent get into it I think at a Knicks game. You can go look at the picture when 50 Cent's like pointing in his face. Him and obviously Puffy got into it a number of years ago. But the recent one is with Damon Dash. Now, I was listening to the interview. It was a very unique interview where they're doing it around New York City. They're going from place to place. They went to I think they went to Queensbridge. They were driving around it, and it was in a studio. I don't know, different places. But Shannon was asking questions about people like, like the beef between Nas and Jay-Z. He was talking about what happened between Hove and Dame Dash. And Steve Stout then went out there and started saying what he had to say. And based on what he said, of course, Dame fell a type of way, and Dame Dash started responding to the things that Steve Stout said. And in the midst of all of that, at the end, he wrote, I think towards Shannon Sharpe, like culture vulture. Here's the heart of what I'm trying to say. I think Shannon, now some people could disagree with me. That's your bloody business. I'm just going to give you my opinion. It's our show. I'm going to give you my opinion. I think that Shannon needs to be careful of this thing of asking people questions that can lead to issues with other people, to where people are now starting to say like, yo, son, be asking questions that like an instigator would ask. Because you asking, and then also maybe commenting on, like somebody will say something and then you will kind of like ad lib on top of it. Like, for instance, when you were talking about Dame, he's like, why you mad? You making money. Somebody like Dame would be like, yo, why are you discussing my business? What are you talking about? That's how Dame could perceive it. And if it continues on, what's going to happen is more people are going to continue to go with Shannon Sharpe. It's kind of similar to what happens with Vlad. Vlad is known as an instigator. So I don't know if Shannon is doing that on purpose. For example, we usually have Marcellus Wiley on our show. And, I'll go to different topics with him, but sometimes I'll ask him, hey, are you cool with this? Are you cool with that? Are you cool with discussing this or whatever it is? And he's okay with discussing a lot of things that he does, but I don't do it in a way where maybe it will cause friction. But if it does, I think he's kind of cool with it. But most of the times we're talking about other things. Usually what him and I discuss, or what most people are discussing in the sports media space, is the same thing Dan Le Batard would discuss. Is the same thing that Stephen A. Smith would discuss to a certain extent. I'm just saying, just be careful with that, because some of these other people going to feel a type of way and they're going to start dissing you. And I'm beginning to notice that, because Dame kind of pushed back on it. In terms of what Steven Jackson had to say, I just think he's voicing his opinion. Obviously, some people are going to be like, oh, he's hating on Shannon Sharpe, whatever the case is. But I don't think it's that deep. I just think it's somebody out there that just has a different opinion to most people, and it's always going to happen. Not everybody's going to like everything 100%. So these are my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about today's show? What do you agree with me? What do you disagree with me? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.